Hello, this is the Talking Michigan Transportation Podcast. I'm Jeff Cranston, Director of Communications at the Michigan Department of Transportation. This week, we're talking about what is a pretty bold announcement today concerning something that is a challenge and frustration to all of us, and that's parking, how to make it easier, and even more so if you can park and charge your EV at the same time. So once again, I am pleased to have with me Trevor Paul, who is Michigan's Chief Mobility Officer, repeat appearance on the podcast. And so, Trevor, thank you for taking time to do this.
It is great to be here. You look good. You look healthy. This is the first one we've done in person.
That's right. We are here at the Center for Automotive Research Management Briefing Seminar in Traverse City and seeing each other in person.
You got like a nice golden brown tan.
I don't know why that would be. Maybe too much time on the trails. Huh?
Yeah, who knows?
Back in the office, out of the sun.
Yeah, right.
Well, so tell us about today's announcement that the governor, you set it up, and then the governor gave some details, and it seemed to go over well with the crowd.
So this is really cool, and it's actually a first in the nation. It's a smart parking lab that is focused on the future of immobility. Right? Immobility. People don't realize that a car typically is only moving about 5% of the time. And what do you do with the 95%? Well, we think there's just a better way. I mean, whether it's with how you charge your vehicle, even the services that can be done to your vehicle, like running proactive diagnostics. You think about, the things that can be done for the paratransit community in various communities. And so this lab is going to explore all those things, including revenue models for cities, right?
So both those things are really interesting. Talk first about what you think it could mean to mobility for people with disabilities.
Yeah, so I think I'll tackle it from two angles. The first is I think it's an opportunity for industry to hear a bit more about barriers that certain communities face, and then actually providing sort of this playground or this place to try stuff, to install new sorts of hardware, and then integrate that with software that can help us make smarter design decisions, smarter implementation decisions. So there's that angle of it.
That's why it's a lab.
Yeah. I know, you're right. Yeah. It's and also I think it can be a place where you can identify the problems. It's not just about sort of taking a list of problems and working through them checkbox by checkbox. It's also about trying some different things, hoping to find the true issue. And so for a group like those that sort of face, what happens in paratransit every single day, this is a dedicated resource that's going to work for them, as well as real estate innovators, startups, mobility pioneers. What I love about this is, it's Ford. It's Enterprise Rent-A-Car. American Center for Mobility is involved, but so is Bedrock, right? From the Rocket family of companies.
Why is that particularly interesting to you?
Because they're not auto, but they understand the convergence of industries that we're seeing right now. 100%. And parking's not. It's in Detroit, but we could have easily had this in Grand Rapids with some of the parking challenges that Grand Rapids has, or even some of these small towns, especially when it's peak season.
Up north.
Yeah. So it's as much about finding new technology as it is about how do we actually make this work in an affordable, efficient way. And also, how do we handle the maintenance? There's all these issues with parking spots. And frankly, again, 95% of the future of mobility is spent not moving at all.
Well, and we've talked about that before in terms of car sharing and what the future of automobiles is. And that's one of the reasons they say that this car could be busy all day long.
Well, the research shows that finding parking in a city it causes 30% of a city's congestion and emissions.
Yeah, it's a huge environmental.
So if you eliminate the second, third, fourth, and fifth time someone goes around the block, and you actually make parking something people enjoy, you get out of your car, you go on with your day, and the car parks safely and efficiently. Parking all of a sudden can become something that relieves pollution, relieves anxiety, doesn't create it. So, I know that sometimes you can get kind of technical with new technologies with the word smart at the beginning of them. But I think everyone can get around this idea that parking is broken. Someone needs to fix it.
Yeah.
You know?
So you're the chief immobility officer now?
Yeah, I am. Uh-huh.
Well, talk about the other aspects of it and why you think Ford and Bosch and Enterprise and the American Center for Mobility and Bedrock could all get behind this. Like, what's the common goal that they share?
Yeah. Well, I mean, with Ford and Bosch, it's clear that, you know, there's a great relationship already in place within the supply chain. And it's clear that there's more competition than ever. And, you know, like finding new lines of business to help a customer will benefit that supply chain. You know, you think about Bedrock, it's like, you know, it's about, it's about innovation, but it's also very much about like making sure Detroit is in a pole position for mobility leadership. And that benefits any company that calls Detroit home. Bedrock sees that more than most and is willing to put their money where their mouth is in that commitment. I've been so impressed with Rocket and just their ability to sort of adapt with the market and add value with whatever it is. It could be like they're all software, but it could be like something with hardware that they come in and say, you know what, we're going to help you on that pitch to that company, try to get them here.
Yeah.
I mean, that's the model. That's public-private partnership.
And you don't see this just from a professional standpoint. You see it from a personal standpoint as somebody who's homesteading in downtown Detroit.
Yeah, I'm a brush park guy at the moment, and you're absolutely right. I mean, to see what they've done in and around Campus Martius has been pretty special.
Yeah. Well, as you look to the future, I mean, what would be your goal? What's your most optimistic view a year, 2 years, 3 years from now from this lab?
For parking?
Yeah.
I would like to see 5+, maybe more, parking technologies become scalable, newsworthy, not just in America or North America, but across the world. And it's clear, like the trajectory, the line can trace back to Detroit. Similar, so I've told this story ad nauseum, and I know you hear it, but you know, we're in this 30-year window where I believe that the next century of transportation is going to be decided. Similar to how like lane markings were, you know, just a milk truck on Woodward Avenue that was leaking, and the right road engineer saw that and applied it. You know, 3-color traffic signals, concrete. I mean, all these things seem monotonous now, but back in the day, they were truly innovative. Now there's a bunch more noise in the market. And so you need to have these dedicated resources that can focus on what the next milk truck is, or you know what the next 3-color signal is. And there's, you know, transportation is so much more complicated. And so it's not as easy to just have a mobility lab sometimes. Sometimes you need to focus on a particular aspect and go hard. And that's what we're doing here.
Well, it was clear today, as you set up the announcement for the governor, that you were very enthusiastic about this. And I think it is one of those things that we are frustrated in the moment, but we don't think about it long term. Like, could I solve this whole parking thing and at the same time deliver a win for the environment? And you know, that's what you're talking about.
You know, and you know, doing a deep dive with these companies on parking, I had no idea the environmental impact. I knew about congestion, I knew about the annoyance, but the environmental impact, and frankly, what you can do with a parking spot, like wireless charging. You know, you think about micro mobility, and even you think about the usage of the space. So for every vehicle, every car in the US, guess how many parking spots there are for that car? 8. So we have like more than 2 billion parking spots. And literally each car in the US could always have at least 8 open.
So is this kind of like Springsteen's 57 channels, and there's
we have enough parking
8 spaces for every car, but we can't find a parking space?
We have enough parking spaces to fill West Virginia, which is a problem, and that's an urban design thing that I think we need to solve, because parking by its nature, parking lots by its nature can pull us apart. It can make a community less dense. However, it starts with being smart about each and every spot and being more productive. So you think about ways to take a parking garage or take, you know, a parking lot and turn it into this micro mobility hub, right? Where, you know, last mile packages can be delivered. You think about delivery bikes, you know, there's just all these other B2B aspects of parking, of this real estate that can be used. I mean, these should be hubs. These just shouldn't be slates of concrete.
Well, I think in issuing the formal announcement after the governor spoke, the news release pointed out that this builds on last week's announcement from the MSF, the strategic fund, that they were going to support Ford and their new global battery center of excellence. So talk about how those things kind of fit together.
Yeah. Well, that's a big deal. I mean, it's a signaling moment. They could have went anywhere else in the world, but they continue to choose Michigan. And I think that builds on a couple of other announcements that maybe don't have the fanfare of Ion Park, but Magna chose St. Clair County, for example, for 300 jobs that focus on battery enclosures for the new electric Hummer. Emerging company out of Boston, XL Fleet, chose Wixom for their sort of advanced fleet electrification center. So I think what you're seeing, a lot of times the news will cover the home team.
Right.
Sometimes we call them, like a Ford, when they make a big announcement. But I think what that big announcement allows us to do is look in the rearview mirror and say, wow, what just happened the last 3 or 4 months? We had a Boston company, we had, Magna continue to invest here, like we've seen some other startup activity. It's just like those moments allow us to look back and say, wow, no, we're definitely a global player. We're definitely still moving the needle as a region.
So do you feel like we're overhyping that to say that? I mean, to talk about Michigan and recovering its status as the auto capital of the world?
Oh, Detroit never left. I mean, we've always been the automotive capital. I think that we're an easy target, and we've had our issues. But I mean, the truth is, when you look at our cluster, and we still have more engineers per capita than anywhere else in the U.S. 96 of the top 100 global suppliers have a presence in Michigan. And just in the last couple of years, we've seen, actually in the last decade, we've had exponentially more automotive manufacturing investment than any other region in North America. That includes the entire country of Canada and Mexico. I mean, so we are in prime position here for the next decade, but we can't kid ourselves. We're up here at the Center for Automotive Research Management Briefing Seminars, and they recently put out a report that had said that over 300 Michigan companies have high likelihood of being impacted by the transition from internal combustion engine vehicles to battery electric. 60% in a negative way. So, I mean, we need to realize that automotive isn't our birthright. And Chris Thomas, who's a venture capitalist in Detroit, has always said that. And I tend to believe it. I think that we need to make sure that we're acting like we're still trying to get our first assembly plant. And we need to, continue to make automotive, sure, one industry in Michigan, sure, the first among equals, but also make sure that we are continuing to act global,
so stay hungry,
and growing that, and growing that industry.
So, having said all that and seeing what you're seeing, did you think even a few years ago? I mean, you were doing Planet M, you were kind of the chief spokesperson, salesperson for Michigan in that job, and now as chief mobility officer, you're expanding on that role. But is this happening even more exponentially than you expected? I mean, what the big automakers are doing with electric vehicles and what the president announced today and where we're going.
Yeah.
Is this just taken off? And I mean, how long before we're all driving EVs?
Well, we got to reduce range anxiety. I mean, you talk to someone, even in a place like San Francisco, I was just talking to an automotive CEO who was like, we just rented an EV out in San Francisco and we were driving around and just to see what it was like. And, admittedly, once that battery the green started to slip away a little bit, we got concerned. We ended up having to sit in a parking garage for 20 minutes just waiting. He's like, he kind of laughed about it, but I mean, imagine if you were on your way up north on 75 and you didn't have that luxury of being in a big city. I think there's a real concern. I mean, I was talking to someone today at the hotel who's like, I had to wake up at 6:30 in the morning to charge my car or to make sure that it was charged. And even the moderator on one of the panels I heard had to start the panel by saying, if you are charging a vehicle, and you're done or you're close to being done, can you please go move your vehicle?
Yeah.
It's a whole new language that we're going to have to learn. So there's a long way to go. I don't think we're all going to be driving EVs. I think fuel cell is going to be prominent. I actually think carbon capture. I don't think we're done with ICE. I think if you can find a way to make ICE a lot cleaner through carbon capture innovation, hardware you can put on your vehicle that captures the carbon stations situated at gas stations where you can drop the carbon off. It can be used for advanced materials. The fleet operator makes money. The gas station or landowner makes money where the station is. And there are revenue channels too that can be explored there.
But during this period, the things that we're starting to do as a state, with Charge Up Michigan, those things.
Oh yeah, Charge Up Michigan. The
president announced today. We've got to.
Oh yeah, no, you're right. You mentioned the president. So yes, what I love about the announcement today, what I love about Michigan's commitment to have a worry-free EV network to travel by 2030, is the level of urgency, and even setting a national goal creates this level playing field, or forces the hand. It creates this invisible hand of urgency, where if you were holding on making an investment on multi-unit dwelling chargers, or policy around multi-unit dwellings or chargers, or you were waiting 25, 26 to really dive deep into faster. Now you have to reassess your timelines.
Yeah.
So that part of it's pretty exciting. But I will say, the way that it's set up, 27, 28, 29, 30, those years leading up to the goal. You're going to see these commitments begin to be they're going to be backloaded. And it's going to be a couple of interesting years to see if we can keep our word nationally, and the industry can keep our word on what we're trying to do. What I do know is if it's not 2030, it'll be 2032. 2035.
It's coming.
It's coming. What is GM's going to be a zero emission company, or all zero emission vehicles by 2035. Ford carbon neutral by 2050, if not sooner. Volvo, I think, is 2025. So it's gonna happen. It's just you needed a moment for the president and his administration to get up and say, no ifs, ands, or buts about it. This is where we're going.
I can't think of a better time, with fires raging in the northwest part of our country and floods in Central Europe, and heavy rainfall like we've never seen. What used to be 500-year events now happening every few months in southeast Michigan. It's what happened in Midland last year. You can't overstate that something's going on with the climate, and doing what you're talking about, what the automakers are committed to. As humans, I don't know what better thing we could do to try to reverse that.
Even in Traverse City, right now, you go out at sunset and it's beautiful, but then you get this really eerie sense that it's only beautiful because the western wildfire smoke is now over you.
Yeah.
And the sun is eerily orange, and you realize something's terribly wrong, and that we might be staring at the beginning of the challenge of our lifetime.
Yeah, very well said.
Yeah.
All right. As always, I appreciate your enthusiasm and your optimism, even if that last part was a little down.
I attended the Cranston School of Communications, so I'm glad my degree is paying off.
Thank you, Trevor.
All right. I'll talk to you later.
All right.
Bye.
Thank you again for listening to this week's edition of the Talking Michigan Transportation Podcast. I would like to thank Randy Dubler and Corey Peaty for engineering this week's podcast. To subscribe to show notes and more, go to Apple Podcasts and search for Talking Michigan Transportation.